business creators, it's Claire from Claire Wright, and today we're going to be talking about 2 keys to building confidence as a solopreneur. Now, if you're wishing that marketing was easier so you could show up and promote your business more, then we're going to talk about how confidence plays into that, because maybe you've tried lots of tactics, scheduling more posts, hiring somebody else to do it, or just that great advice of feel the fear and do it anyway. But if these aren't working out for you, then maybe underlying these strategies, actions, tactics, whatever you want to call them, is the mindset piece of confidence. So we're going to cover 2 keys to confidence. And we do this so that you don't have to implement every marketing strategy and tactic and build the courage of a lion in order to grow your business. So why is confidence important? Now, I know it seems obvious, but this is actually really useful in understanding why it's worth your effort, why you shouldn't just go out and learn another marketing technique. So if the opposites of confidence are things like distrust, skepticism, doubt, and uncertainty, then clearly confidence seems important, because if you doubt or distrust your abilities, or if you're skeptical or uncertain about maybe the outcomes you can help people achieve, then how can you genuinely and authentically promote working with you? How could you have a conversation with somebody, like a sales conversation, and genuinely present your offer, your service as the best fit for them if you don't have confidence in it? That's really probably misaligned for most people. Because when you lack confidence, you're feeding into that doubt. Now, this isn't always about self-esteem. You could lack confidence in lots of different areas. So maybe it's writing a good blog post. You're not confident doing that. Maybe you're not confident enough to be able to do a Facebook Live. You don't have to doubt every single ability you ever had. And doubt isn't actually always a bad thing. It can help you to identify where you need to improve and develop. Having a doubt about your ability to something, if it's founded in truth, can actually be quite insightful. It can warn you of potential consequences that you might need to accept before taking an outcome, before pursuing an outcome or taking an action. If you have a doubt around if that's what you want, you probably need to resolve that before pursuing it. So when we think about confidence, it can be interesting to check into areas where you are confident. I'm confident with Excel spreadsheets, and see how is being confident with Excel spreadsheets different to lacking confidence with Zoom as the platform. What's the difference? How have I built the confidence in Excel, and what could I learn to build confidence in using Zoom, for example? So once we've gone through that, what's the difference, which is really personal to you, there's 2 keys, 2 elements that I think will help you to build that confidence so you can pursue your dreams or promote your business, or equally, and this one's really important, the confidence to give up, to stop doing something that just isn't working for you. Stop doing those Facebook Lives if they're not working for you. Stop whatever it is, posting every day on Facebook. And those 2 keys for me are competence and congruence, and we're going to deal with each one individually. So competence, simply, real confidence cannot exist without some level of competence. You can't be confident riding a bike until you've practiced and you've built up a level of competence, because prior to that you simply just don't have the skills, you don't have any strategies, and you don't have any experience. So how are you going to deal with the bumps, the stones, the potholes? How are you going to know how to correct your balance? How are you even going to know when you're off balance? And how are you going to figure out how to stop and start without crashing or keeling over? This is all about learning. So in competence, we're learning what it takes to be good at that thing. And you learn those skills to take you from that beginner level. Now, the problem with competence starts with there's no set level of competence. And how skilled you are, how practiced you need to be, how often you need to practice will depend on a lot of other factors. So factors like how complex is the task itself? Have you ever done something similar that kind of crosses over to this? Like if you're good with Microsoft Teams, that might translate to be pretty good with Zoom. Also might not in my experience. And also if you're naturally suited to the task. So are you good with logic, consecutive thinking? Then you're probably going to be good with Excel, that sort of thing. So like this lack of there being, once you hit this level, then you can be confident, really leads to that underplaying our value and overcompensating with needing or thinking we need more training, more skills, more learning. And I'd also say the thing that happens when you start learning something is that you realize how much it is to know that you don't know already. So for example, painting. Putting paint on paper. That simple? Well, not quite, because what type of paint? And how to use that paint to achieve the outcome you want. What type of paper? What brushes? Do you even want brushes? What about palette knives? What technique are you going to employ? Does it have to be on paper? Do you even need a brush? Could you use potatoes or any other implement, organic or otherwise? Like what size? What effects? What other mediums could you introduce? Like it's not like what you think it is actually expands generally exponentially when you get to know a little bit more and then more and then more. So when we're thinking about competence, ask yourself, do you already know enough to be able to help people, to be able to deliver your service, to be able to achieve a transformation or outcome with somebody? Because remember, enough is really relative to where the people you are helping. So if you're 3 steps in front of somebody, probably can help that person that's just behind you and maybe a little bit further. You're probably not going to be helping the person that's already in front of you. That's not to say you can't, but like you already know enough. You're still relevant. You're still accessible. The knowledge you have is still relevant for that person you're helping. So do you already know enough to be able to help people? So the second key to building confidence we're talking about today is congruence. Now, if something truly doesn't align with who you are as a person, then confidence is likely to be a struggle. Like if you're not into team sports or competition or early mornings, then you're probably not going to be a great, confident daybreak soccer player. Like it's just not aligned to who you are. And this comes out in business, in particular, online business, through simply just following what a guru or mentor or teacher or somebody that's done it before says you should be doing. And I'm not going to get into a whole other rant about particularly when it's not their area, but you need to reflect that advice, that suggestion, which is what I would probably call it, through the lens of, is it in alignment to you? Is doing a Facebook Live, whatever, once a day, once a week, whatever the frequency is, actually in alignment for you? Are you a natural talker, or would it be better for you to write that same content into a post because you can really express with impact and resonance in writing? Like, does it actually align to you? Now, the analogy here, I heard this recently, really hit home for me, was of archery. Like, you can fire as many arrows as you have, but until you align with the target, you're unlikely to be successful. If you're not repeatedly aligning with the target, you're unlikely to be repeatedly successful. You may have a few shots that hit the target, but if you're not aligning regularly, then you're not going to get repeated success. We expand this to confidence Until you align with the target, you're not going to have pretty much any confidence that you can hit the target. It's going to be that float, it's going to be luck. We're not going to be actually pursuing the target we want. So what I would encourage you to ask is, what strategy have you just taken on pretty much wholesale that you're trying to implement that simply doesn't suit you? And this is a question I have to ask myself a lot because it's so hard to distinguish what worked for somebody else isn't always going to work for me. Like that, it can be a real challenge when you see somebody else's business and they've built it on doing Facebook Lives 3 times a week, whatever it is. You're like, well, if it works for them, it can work for me. And it can, but are you going to be confident pursuing that as a model? So building confidence, just to round us out, there's no quick fix. I'm not pretending that there is. And your marketing is not going to suddenly become perfect overnight. Perfection doesn't exist. You're not going to remove all doubt. But remember, doubt can be helpful and you can keep it in check. And also, confidence is built on learning, growing, making mistakes, which is simply just more learning, and experience. So how can you practice? How can you build it? How can you create more competence? How can you create more congruence to help with your confidence? If this video has been useful, I'd love you to give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments how you're going to build your confidence. You can subscribe for more content like this on visibility, imposter syndrome, and mindset for solopreneurs. And if you need my help on seeing where you might be lacking some of that congruence or competence, then reach out for a free discovery session.